those movements that the sailors were doing before depict naval duties. Let's up the tempo a bit more. Look, we've got this magnificent band. Feet apart, feel the rhythm, and let's jump into action. Sailor, put that girl down. Okay, let's go. Now, up the rigging.
Early one Sunday morning in May 1787, a fleet of 11 ships carrying more than 700 convicts slipped quietly out of Portsmouth Harbour, bound for the other side of the world. So early that only one passing clergyman witnessed their departure. They were sent to Botany Bay as a punishment. They stayed to found a new nation, Australia. Last May, another such fleet left to retrace that voyage. This time it was the Queen who bade them Godspeed, a timely forerunner of her visit next year to join in Australia's 200th anniversary celebrations. But this year, they have come to us, the massed bands of the Australian Defence Forces. An impressive opening for the massed bands of the Australian Defence Forces with the traditional march, Quality Plus. And now, a salute to Australia, specially written by Sergeant Alan James of the Australian Army. Friend Chris McNiven from Geelong near Melbourne is the only woman musician in the Australian Navy. Perhaps because not many sailors go overboard about playing glockenspiel. And now, looking forward to next year's Australian bicentenary celebrations, the bands form into the figures 88 as they strike up Click Go the Shears. I have to tell you that all is not as it seems here. This splendid kangaroo suit the Australians brought along for the occasion turned out to be too small for any of them to wear. So, hastily swallowing their pride, they agreed to recruit a mere pom to fill the pause of their national emblem. Step forward one Philip Corthley, a 17-year-old British gunner. And now, at last, the Royal Navy Field Gun Competition. Tonight, on the far side, Portsmouth. On the near side, Devonport. Two of the three crews who take part in this challenge. A challenge which runs throughout the tournament to establish this year's winner. Their unenviable task is to manhandle a ton of equipment across the walls, ramps and imaginary bottomless ravine that are the setting for this toughest of contests. Introduced 80 years ago, it's still immensely popular. It originally celebrated the success of the Blue Jackets of the Royal Navy when they took guns ashore during the South African campaign at the turn of the century and went to help the army who were besieged in Ladysmith. They carried with them 12-pounder guns like those you see this evening to help break the siege. The final stage of their journey was over extremely difficult terrain represented tonight by the obstacles in the arena.
And away they go on the first stage of the run this evening. And up at the Warwick Road end, everything goes over the home wall. Men, guns, limbers, a great weight of equipment in this competition of skill and determination. In the centre, the sheer legs are set up with the 28-foot bars on top used to carry the first two men of each crew across the chasm. They're followed by the 10-foot spars, then slotted through the hole in the ramp on the enemy side, making them quite secure. And then up go the wires onto the spars, the travellers zooming backwards and forwards. And the first men came over with wheels, each of them weighing 120 pounds, to be followed by the gun carriage, which weighs
A bad mistake by Devonport there. They failed to attach the barrel of the gun to the traveller. That's going to cost them time. It will also upset the rhythm of the team.
Over the chasm neck, each weigh 900 pounds, a very formidable piece of steel. Wheels follow, and the last piece of kit to get across the chasm is the gun limber. The limbers then follow the guns through the hole in the enemy wall. The guns are taken to their firing position and they prepare to fire 3 rounds.
So Portsmouth fire their 3 rounds first to win the run out in a time of 1 minute 32.95 seconds. Devonport 3 seconds behind. They're going to be really livid about that. They know that everyone in the Royal Navy takes a keen interest in the fortunes of the crews taking part in the competition. Every day signals are sent to ships of the fleet wherever they may be in the world, keeping them in touch with the very latest results.
And the bugle calls them to action again for the run back, and everything goes over the enemy wall. And already the first 2 men of each crew have crossed the chasm on the Traveller, and the Traveller comes back for their comrades who follow behind. The first of them with wheels, next the gun limbers, and see how apparently easily they bring the guns to the top of the ramp on the enemy side of the chasm. Now it's the barrel that crosses the chasm first, 900 pounds each, remember.
Oh, that's the gun barrel giving Devonport trouble again. That really is unusual, but remember, it does weigh 900 pounds, the weight of 6 men.
The gun is then lowered, the barrel lowered, and the gun taken away to the new firing position. And the last men over are the Flying Angels, who bring the 10-foot spars with them. And when they get to the other side, down go the sheer legs.
Quick, sharp action, but you can see how it really takes it out of these men. 3 empty shell cases are checked. The judging in this competition really is meticulous and complicated. There may be additional time penalties too. Those are going to be worked out later. But even without them, Devonport are now another 5 seconds behind. That's 8 in all.
In the third and final stage, the guns and limbers go through the hole in the home wall.
A lot of catching up to do in the final home run, in which the gun and limber are taken through the wall before the teams sprint for home on the final stage.
Control box will give us the confirmed time for the running time, but the official time will come later on in the program, and they're away on the final stage of the run this evening. The guns twisted round against them through that small hole in the home wall, and when they're through, they hook up and pull for home.
As the teams gather somewhat breathlessly for the Royal Salute, we can tell you that the final corrected times are Portsmouth, 2 minutes 56.3 seconds, Devonport over a minute behind with 3 minutes 59.3. Those mistakes really did cost them dear. The giant backcloth to the arena, designed by the show's producer, Major Michael Parker, depicts milestones in the history of the Royal Navy. Here, the very first Ark Royal. The mounting of guns on ships radically altered the fighting power and strategy of the Royal Navy. But the sailors on these vessels could not have conceived that centuries later, another major breakthrough would put aircraft on ships to make the second Ark Royal the first aircraft carrier. Today's Ark Royal is the 5th to bear that name. On the 4th of June this year, she sailed up a changed River Thames to Greenwich, and what the Victorians have made of a commuter airport for the city in their old dockland. And what would the first Elizabethans have made of the Thames Barrier, technology to turn back the sea, to arrest the storm water that would flood much of London? Above all, what would they have made of this Ark Royal herself, as wide as the very first Ark Royal was long, and at 677 feet, almost 7 times the length. Her range, 5,000 miles, top speed, 28 knots. Commissioned in 1985, she carries 20 aircraft, 12 Sea King helicopters, 9 of them for anti-submarine warfare, and 8 Harrier jump jets, which take off and land on a flight deck that runs almost the whole length of the ship. This carrier is not only a flagship, but in times of crises would become the command center of a task force. The task force air defense screen is provided by 2 Type 42 air defense destroyers, HMS Exeter and Birmingham, equipped with sea darts and an automatic 4.5-inch gun. There are 2 Type 22 frigates, HMS Brilliant and London. And an anti-submarine warfare screen is provided by 4 Leander-class frigates. The whole task force is supported by Royal Fleet auxiliary and supply ships and includes merchant navy ships taken up from trade carrying vital supplies to support the Royal Marines ashore. And now tonight, the Earl's Court Arena is for a moment transformed into the flight deck of the Ark Royal. We stand by for takeoff. Deep in the bowels of the Ark Royal, the Ops Room, the command centre that monitors the skies and seas for miles around, that provides the information for the commander, a rear admiral, to dispatch his Sea King helicopters and launch his Sea Darts and SAM missiles. In short, to provide the naval firepower that will support a Royal Marine assault party from one of the accompanying ships. The action continues in the arena.
They decide that naval fire support is required. The helicopters from the Commando assault ship start taking the Marines ashore. One of the sentries must have heard something and is coming to investigate, but the Royal Marines ever vigilant to make sure they're not taken by surprise. More abseilers arrive. The other half of the force has landed further down the coast and are approaching on skis. But the noise of the helicopters and vehicles has alerted the enemy, and they are fighting back. The flying crucifix, Marine Nick Sharp from Stroud using his gun as he comes down the Death Slide rope. So that it seems one of the Marines is a bit late and rather unsteady on the rope. There he is. My goodness! Now they've got him safely down, they can withdraw and blow up the missile complex.
Well, the Royal Marine Tournament is, after all, a show, and no performance would be complete without its clown. The Royal Marine beret proves that the Yeti is on our side. The sights and sounds, then, of the Royal Marines in action. But there is one sight and sound that has become a legend in British naval history. In 1911, when our naval power was at its height, the newly crowned King Emperor George V, Queen Mary at his side, boarded the royal yacht to review the fleet of Spithead. No fewer than 240 ships formed into 9 lines, each 6 miles long. Among them, the flagship Neptune and the great battleships Illustrious and Invincible. And what impressed the spectators most was the sight and sound of all the ships in the fleet simultaneously firing one mighty royal salute. There has never been another like it. But there is another, more traditional naval salute that was also an integral part of the Spithead Review, the manning of the masts of the tall ships. And to end our evening, the display team from HMS Sultan revived this old courtesy for the Queen Mother here tonight. HMS Sultan is the naval establishment at Gosport, which is the home of the Royal Marines Engineering Apprentices, the engineers of the Royal Navy. And these young men on their 8-month training course found just enough spare time to train during their lunch hours and at the end of the day. The display team has been in existence for only 3 months. Heading right for the top to the knob or button 90 feet above ground, the button boy, 18-year-old Craig Bolt from Liverpool.
We feel really proud because you can see everyone looking at you, and you feel a lot taller than what you are. You feel really good.
I gather you've got a special reason for being pleased at being the button boy tonight.
Yeah, well, when I passed out of rally, my mother wasn't very well, so she couldn't see me pass out. So the reason I'm doing the button boy is so that my mother can come down and see me on the top of the mast. And hopefully she'll feel proud.
These 33 sailors are all volunteers. In the old days, of course, they didn't have a choice. But it's still a sight that will have a few old hands hankering for the days of life under sail on the oceans of the world. And so the whiff of gun smoke across 4 centuries of British naval history lingers in the air of the great ship that is Earl's Court tonight. From the 1987 Royal Tournament, good night.